Hi everyone and welcome to another vlog. Today we're looking at something pretty serious, which you may heard of, called COPPA. I want to explain for you guys that don't know about it what it is, and also just in general for everybody what it will mean for my channel, the content I make, and also the community as a whole. Before we get started though, if you do want notifications of videos like these, as well as a range of gaming videos, do please consider becoming a subscriber and hitting the notification bell. I know YouTube can be a bit dodgy with notifications, so this, along with a range of my social media, which you can go follow, will give you alerts, hopefully, to when stuff goes live. I do also have a ton of behind-the-scenes stuff, but without further ado, let's get started. I've broken the issue down into a few key areas. If there is a particular section you're not interested in, please feel free to skip to the time codes, which I will show on the screen somewhere. And also in the video description, but to get a full flavour I would recommend watching the whole video. Quick disclaimer though before we get started, this is not legal advice, this is just my opinion. I would recommend going out and checking some of the legal channels on YouTube, or going and getting your own lawyer to find information yourself. But this is just my take on it and a few ideas I had. What is COPPA? Well, COPPA stands for the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, and is a piece of legislation enforced by the FTC in the USA. The act was first made in 1998 and it was updated in 2013. COPPA restricts the data that can be collected on children, and on YouTube specifically prevents things like targeted ads, among other things. Apparently, according to statistics in 2016, there is as much as 73% of children aged 8 to 11 using YouTube as their main source of entertainment, and this goes up to 87% for those over 12, using it at least once a week. Why and how has COPPA become the latest problem? Well, simply put, YouTube has been allegedly collecting data on children, which has resulted in things like targeted ads. And a side note issue is that some creators have been putting inappropriate content in front of children. The FTC obviously doesn't want children to be able to put their personal information online without parental consent, and as I'm sure most of you will understand, most parents do not want their children seeing inappropriate content. The reason this has become a massive issue is because YouTube has allegedly been collecting the data on children. This data collection is covered by COPPA, and it doesn't just include names, addresses, and all that kind of stuff, but also behavioural information like browsing history and things that are in cookies. And it appears YouTube has been using this data to push targeted ads and surface targeted content. As a result, YouTube recently had to pay a fine of $170 million earlier this year, and they had to agree to a range of changes in order to become COPPA compliant. From what I understand, the COPPA legislation was due for review in a few years' time regardless, but due to petitioning from 20 child advocacy groups, this was pushed forwards. The groups claimed that YouTube was in fact aimed at children under 13 and therefore was in breach of the 2013 modification of COPPA, and they should therefore be punished and barred from having child content on the platform as well as marketing to children. Everything since the fines has pretty much been YouTube's knee-jerk reaction to avoid further consequences. Why YouTube? Well, simply put, they're making an example of them, which is because they, targeting YouTube garners headlines. And as far as I'm aware, YouTube has never been a profitable venture, but a lot of money does go through their hands. Most sites are apparently COPPA compliant, but because YouTube continued to push targeting ads at children, with the rise of the popularity of children channels on YouTube, they've made themselves a target for their complacency. This, along with the push from the advocacy group, is what resulted in the fine earlier this year. The FTC, of course, has an agenda and a goal, which is to enforce compliance. A good way to do this is to get the attention of other companies in the sector, and for the FTC to show concerned parents they're actually doing something. Well, what is YouTube doing in response to COPPA? Well, to start with, content creators have to declare if their content is aimed at children, based on a range of criteria under Title 16 Code of Federal Regulations, Section 312.2. Any channels labelled as made for kids will lose access to notifications, the comments section, monetization, the community tab, info cards, end screens, and a whole lot more. If you make a video aimed at children and don't mark it as such, the creator could be fined up to $42,000 per offence. You can have the video or videos removed, and you could potentially have your account terminated, among a range of other sanctions. As it stands, YouTube has a single checkbox for your entire channel, or you can do it on a video per video basis, but you must declare whether your content is aimed at children or not. The problem with this, however, is it doesn't account for mixed audience creators, and to make it worse, the legislation states 13-year-olds and under being described as child content. But YouTube has got a get out clause. From what I can tell, there's a other laws section with regards to the checkbox. And from where I live in the UK, a child is considered someone under the age of 18. So this leaves a lack of clarity and room for maneuver on YouTube's part, because it leaves creators open to being punished under their local laws. And I don't know if this is possible. I'd have to try and consult someone, but could the FTC maybe use this to punish someone in another country based off of their laws for what constitutes a child and constitutes child content, given it's got a higher bracket? Would that then end up as labelled as as deliberately mislabeled content? I'm not sure. This leaves a huge amount of wriggle room for unfair determination of what child content is, and I don't know. I am worried as a content creator outside of the USA. Also, don't forget, for example, games that are aimed at 18-year-old plus but have plenty of children playing them. For example, in gaming myself, you've got Call of Duty, GTA, CSGO. Although, Peggy and all the rest don't say that they're for kids under 18, plenty of children do play them because their parents either let them or they manage to get through them, by other means, and just have a general interest in that more mature content. That leaves a bit of a dodgy area, for me, at least. From what I understand from reading COPPA and the information over on YouTube channels like In Corzine, among other places, COPPA does make provisions for mixed audience content, and content aimed at more mature audiences may still garner children viewership, and that's okay. However, rather put gateways in place or push something like YouTube Kids and lock accounts down to areas of YouTube, put bigger emphasis on parental controls and education about restriction tools and giving creators the correct tools to properly describe and categorize their content, YouTube seems to have washed their hands of responsibility and left creators as open season for the FTC to go after. YouTube has essentially done the bare minimum of a tick box operation and not really given much clarity on what constitutes child content. And as it stands, I think they're really actually hurting themselves more financially down the long game if they continue down this path. I know they're going to lose out on their CPM for child content, but if you look at channels for mature type topics like finance, property, luxury items, the CPMs for those in advertising are insane. Some small changes may foster and help those channels grow more and, give rise to the more mature audience advertising that I think really has a place. There's definitely a demographic for older content and people that don't mind swearing and mature styles to content presentation. Well, the reason YouTube isn't doing more is apparently, according to Ian Corzine, and the video I will link on screen and down below, is based on information from an inside source that essentially it's down to money, and that doing what's necessary and protecting their creators in the process is actually going to harm them more financially moving forwards. Again, highlighting what I said a minute ago, I actually think that it might give advertisers more assurance and it might give better avenue for more mature focused products to be advertised at an audience more accurately, as well as, help this stupid PG taboo and, that YouTube has turned into and avoid more adpocalypses. But yeah, apparently it's not worth the time. And it's the creators that are going to suffer as a result. The betrayal of creators and ignoring recommendations from the FTCs that have made an allowance for mixed content really peeves me off. But a link to Ian's video, of course, will be in the video description. I do recommend checking it out, as well as videos by vidIQ, for example, if you are interested in the topic. Is CharedeGaming going to be affected or taken down? Well, simply put, yes, it affects everyone on the platform, and it ultimately spills into all forms of content creation and social media more broadly. As far as what I do right now and my plans for my channel here on YouTube, over on Twitch, and my social media, I don't consider myself to be aimed at children. I acknowledge for a while I was doing Minecraft content over on Twitch, but and there were some children under the age of 18 watching, but regardless, very few under 13s watch that kind of stuff, and Twitch has restrictions, so on and so forth. And the children that were in my chat room were supervised by parents. So, I think really my content's not aimed at kids, to be quite frank. And overall, I did building and a more technical based content, so that tended to appeal to an older Minecraft demographic, if that makes sense. Based on the information I have about my YouTube audience, it very clearly sits in the 18 to 24 bracket, and the late, the 25s to 34s. I do, however, according to the statistics, have 8.6% of my views coming from accounts YouTube suspects are between the age of 13 and 17. So, should I label my content as for kids to be on the safe side? Well, from what I've read, it would appear that isn't the case. Apparently, the exception for mixed content audiences exempts me from this because apparently it states content that's clearly aimed at a majority child audience is what should be labelled as child content. So for me, I don't feel like I'm aiming at them, and nor would my metrics back that up either. So to top that off as well, YouTube really doesn't help with me figuring this out. Even on my most popular video, just picking a single isolated video, it doesn't give me the statistics for demographics. I know I'm smaller creators, this probably only affects me because of that, but I had to pull stats for the lifetime of my channel, for which they've got nothing pre-2015, by the way, in order to get any form of demographic information on my entire channel, at which point I managed to pull those percentages and figure out what my audience is as far as YouTube's concerned. What I don't understand is how YouTube can expect small creators like myself to understand who our audiences are if they don't show us the metrics for your channel, and they're going to cut off communication means that make it impossible for us to figure it out. Not only that, right, but surely if my understanding of COPPA is correct, YouTube collecting data about viewer ages to show us the stats in the first place shouldn't be happening. So how is it I can see that 8.6% of my audience are supposedly between 13 and 17, but they shouldn't be collecting data on children, and in some countries a child constitutes, up to the age of 18. So I'm a little confused. Like, either show me the data so I can make informed choices, even as a smaller channel, rather than having to go full whack across my entire channel, provided you're allowed to under COPPA, or don't show it to me at all. Consistency, please. That would be really helpful. For this reason, unless I hear otherwise, if I do cover a product that is rated under 18, for example, say a 3+ game, or I play a game like Call of Duty, which is clearly not for kids, but unfortunately does attract interest from children, I think I should theoretically be okay. The big problem is, as usual, YouTube's plan to automate and flag everything using the automated system. So, for example, I've done videos on Pokemon products, like my card openings, and I suspect something like that is probably going to get misflagged as child content, but it really is not my intent for it to be child content. For me, opening Pokemon cards is the nostalgia factor, and there's many people in my age group that do it for that reason. So I guess I'll have to fight these on a case-to-case basis, but we'll wait and see, I suppose. So the guidelines as well on what is kid content is really, really vague, and just is clearly written by someone who's out of touch. I mean, no joke, they include a section where they say language like cool and whatever is example of child-directed, language, but I mean, seriously, you could take 90% of cheesy 90s content and you will find that in that, whether it's aimed at adults or children. I mean, baby talk I can understand, right? Because that's a demonstration of really talking to very little kids, but words like cool, I mean, that's such a huge stretch. It's ridiculous, in my opinion. So what's your plan of action to ensure COPPA compliance? I don't have any intention of changing who I am and what I do on the platform, but I do have to keep COPPA in mind at all times when making content. I wholeheartedly believe that my content is not aimed at children, but by happenstance, occasionally the odd under 18 viewer may, either by accident or because of a parent, may have been permitted to view my content. I was working on YouTube towards at least swearing less, so the system doesn't bury me so much. It's something I'm aware of that goes on with my channel, and I plan to continue that, but I'm not going to restrict who I am and what I do. I mean, for example, if you go looking for my channel in restricted mode, and I know this is the hyper-sensitized version of YouTube, you won't find my channel. There is a couple of videos, but you're really not going to find much of me. I know that I play more mature style games, and I do swear quite a bit, but I have been toning this down. So those factors combined really means that my channel does not surface whatsoever, and I suspect, again, that's going to be affecting my channel, and its growth and reach and so on and so forth, and you guys even getting notifications for my videos. Thankfully, my Kickstarter GG and my game review series hasn't fallen victim of this so far. All of that series is publicly available no matter what view you go looking for it in, and also if you go looking for keywords. I have tested this. So that's good in that regard, at least. As it stands, though, I've taken the following precautions to ensure COPPA compliance moving forward. Firstly, I've put a disclaimer in my About section declaring my channel is not aimed at children. This is based on a recommendation from a source of information I consulted. I think it was VidIQ. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, they said something about putting a disclaimer. So I've done that just as a baseline starting point. In future, I'll also be adding that same disclaimer to all my video descriptions and retrospectively going through and adding this to all my prior videos. I will make adjustments to the disclaimer for videos that may have a little bit more child appeal. For example, opening Pokemon products. But I will again be making it clear that they may have products and stuff that kids have an interest in, but it is still not my intended audience. I've already gone through my back catalogue of videos and manually reviewed whether they're aimed at kids or not. I don't believe any of them are, to be quite frank, but I've set 22 out of the 326 videos I've done so far on my channel as aimed at kids, because they contain a combination of child-based products and no swearing, so they may be the videos that are attracting the 8.6%, younger audience, even though it's disclosed as over 13. Right now, like I say, it consists of Minecraft videos, a few Pokemon videos, and some unboxing videos, basically, that I've labelled as marked for kids. Till I find more information about categorising, I'm kind of stuck with what to do with them, and I will adjust them as needed in the future, but for now I've done that to be on the safe side, guys. Just so you know, I've actually added a 30-second disclaimer to the start of all the upcoming Jackbox videos, as these have content and themes that are really on the high-end mature type stuff. Dark humour, that kind of thing. Any similar sort of party game videos will get the same treatment, and they will definitely be labelled as not for kids, and I possibly am going to have to 18+ restrict them. I'm not just doing this because of COPPA, but also because of people being aware these games are being played as a joke, and any offensive language or excess above my normal level of swearing in adult themes is strictly as part of the game. It's not intended to offend anyone. None of the opinions in those games are a reflection of myself or hate speech or harm to others or anything like that, or anything directed at anyone. I don't want people to get the wrong idea about those videos and their intent. That's one way of making this clear and giving people a choice to click away before they potentially get offended if they are of a sensitive disposition. The content I'm referring to, as I've said before, is just mature and dark humour, but I know some people do take issue with that kind of thing. It doesn't violate YouTube terms of service or guidelines, but I've no doubt that it's not going to get monetized, but I'm not bothered about that. I just want to avoid drama unnecessarily. I've no intention of making content for kids or focused on kids, so don't expect me to get crazy baby talking or going hyper crazy doing pranks and pushing giveaways and doing any crazy, stuff that's, age inappropriate but they might find cool or something stupid like that. There's plenty of YouTubers I can think that do that, but I'm not going to name them. So yeah, kid focused content is just not me. I'm sorry, you're probably never going to see that on my channel. It's not what my community's ever been really focused on. Generally, most of you out there, as you'll know, that watch my channel are mostly at uni, or you're in your 20s finding your way in the world, or at worst, if you, in the minority, are very, very late teenagers. So, when, like I say, I'm showing off products like Pokemon cards, it's for the nostalgic factor. It's for my age group looking back at it. And when I'm looking at 3+ games and doing a review for something that's rated under 18, I'm generally speaking talking to the people that have the money and make the purchasing decisions in the household. So that it might be a product that a child likes and they may see the video, but ultimately it's down to the parent as to what they do with that information. And I know there's probably going to be a few kids that might come across my reviews, but I've kept them super, super clean. And, they may present the review to their parent, but it's down to the parent then at that point to make the buying decision. And, I suspect it's going to be more the adults that see it and then are making the purchasing decision on behalf of their kids. So, yeah, I don't see it as kid-directed, even though it may have a child product in it, if that makes sense. But, yeah, as I said, parent, you need to supervise your kids. I know it's a stupid thing to say, but, it's part and parcel of what you should be doing. But yeah, as I said, with all my reviews, I keep it pretty clean. What more can I do? Concluding thoughts. Anyway, from what I can tell, COPPA is a bit overreaching, and it seems to be made by idiots that have got some good intentions, but seem to be a little out of touch. you know, YouTube is reacting to the outrage for some groups, and so is the FTC. And I understand. I feel it's justified to a certain extent. YouTube has clearly turned a blind eye and ignored what they knew was on the horizon. But, you know, parents need to parent. You know, you should be monitoring your kids' activities online better. So some fault, no offense, lies there. However, in my opinion, YouTube probably full well knows they've been complacent, and I suspect they were taking advantage of the child content boom and monetizing it as hard as they could while they could to their benefit. I agree children should not be targeted with personal ads due to how susceptible they are. I agree there's lots of content on the platform that children should just not be watching. I agree more needs to be done on multiple fronts. I have no issue with that. I do feel COPPA is poorly worded, yes. I do feel the descriptors for what child content is unclear and it's not helpful, absolutely. COPPA needs revisiting and rewording, absolutely. Did YouTube throw its content creators under the bus, metaphorically speaking? Yeah, absolutely, in my opinion. And it winds me up so bloody much. Even if you ignore the possible get-out clause that channels like the Lawful Masses has identified that under COPPA YouTube is the operator, and therefore this is targeting them specifically, because as channel owners we're not responsible for the data that the site collects. YouTube is the one that's failed to give us the tools we need, and they're the ones that have control over the algorithm that dictates what is shown where and what ads are shown. They control the data collected from users watching. They control what ads rolls on videos. So is YouTube over? No, but it really is hurting its reputation further and alienating its creators beyond the point of frustration. And it's just destroying everything in the process for everyone. You know, the audience, the creators, the advertisers as well. They're not going to be happy about all this. Ultimately, YouTube has a responsibility to its viewers to ensure appropriate content reaches them, especially young children and minors, and to give parents the tools to limit what their children see. On the flip side, parents need to parent and take responsibility for monitoring their child's online activity. Much like parents are responsible for teaching kids about stranger danger and how to cross the road, it's, in my opinion, their responsibility to this day to teach life skills appropriate to the environment and society they're in. And as it stands in a culture, dominated by social media and online content creation, parents need to step up and teach children good online conduct and safety. If the parent doesn't have the required skills or knowledge to do that, that's fine, but they need to go out there and find the right information. And the government and schools should really help in aiding and finding accurate information and giving the tools this information and making it accessible. It's honestly got to the point where I'd love to see parents not just go to baby classes when they're expecting a new child, but also take a course in online safety and conduct, so they're better prepared for when their kid is going to start going online, because at this stage it is just inevitable. I acknowledge there are some bad actors within the YouTube creator setting, but as usual, the ill-informed approach of shotgunning everything down has left the creators with picking up the pieces and then being ultimately made the target of unnecessarily. As for YouTube saddling creators with a lack of proper tools, poor information, and not stepping up to the plate to provide what is needed to ensure content is not being shown to inappropriate audiences, and avoiding the problems with COPPA by collecting data they shouldn't have, more fool them. As much as they allegedly say restricting YouTube and acting on COPPA will hurt them financially, I think they're really missing out on a trick here to cater to parents, comply with COPPA, help advertisers target better, and have more assurances as to where their ads are being placed, as well as show some commitment and support to creators who just want to share their message and for many years have been losing faith in the platform they've helped build. I doubt YouTube will ever see my videos on this, but this video combined with another one I have planned, I would really like to see what you guys think, so feel free to comment in the section below. I have a few ideas for things that may potentially help. They're only ideas, but maybe you guys could help me flesh them out and put them to YouTube. About things that could be done to help fix this stupid situation, along with a range of other issues. A link to that other video I will put in the description below. Anyway, I'm sorry for talking so long about a serious topic today, but I thought it's best to be transparent with you all and bring to light the consequences it's going to have for the future of my channel. As a disclaimer, again, please don't use my thoughts as legal advice. It's strictly my thoughts and opinions, how I see things and what I'm planning to do in order to stay COPPA compliant. This is in no way advice. Please seek your own legal counsel and do your own research. If you have enjoyed today's video or found it informative, please do consider liking and sharing it with your friends. Join me down below in the comments section. I really am open to discussion. I really would love to hear what you think. Go check out that other COPPA video that I'm planning too, on some recommendations maybe that might be worth putting to YouTube. And if you haven't joined my community already, please do consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. It doesn't cost a thing, and it will make sure that you don't miss out on a single video from my channel. Anyway, I'll see you in 2020 for more derping. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye bye.